David in Fort Benning, Georgia. Hey, David, what's up?
Hey, Tom. I listen to you a lot. Every opportunity I get, really.
Are you at Fort Benning because you're active duty military?
I'm at Fort Benning because I'm active duty, but I'm in the National Guard, but I'm on active duty orders.
Okay.
I am in the military.
So what do you think about these guys who say that they need to stockpile a bunch of guns so that they can shoot at you?
Well, I don't think that they're talking about shooting at me, because I don't think that the average American soldier is going to take up arms against his own citizens. So I don't, as a citizen, I don't fear that really happening. I think you would see a lot of defections.
It happened at Kent State.
From the military. Say again?
It happened at Kent State.
Well, sure. Well, yeah, it did, and I think that's a crazy, isolated incident with the U.S. military. I think what happened there was absolutely outrageously out of control. I mean, it's a crazy thing that happened, but I would say the thing that kind of fascinates me about you, I listen to you a lot, is that you seem to have absolute faith in government. Like you believe in
I don't.
Government.
Here's my position, David. I agree with Winston Churchill. Democracy is one of the most miserable forms of government there is, but it's the best that we've invented so far. What's your alternative?
Well, I don't think I'm not saying I have an alternative. I think that I'm not saying that democracy is a bad form of government, but I mean, I think when you look at the history of, say, a country like Germany during from 1933 to 1945. We're talking about a government that rounded up its own citizens, made them work at forced labor, that murdered millions of people of German citizenry.
With the support, by and large, of the majority of the German citizen. In fact, Hitler in 36, 37, 38, even 39 when he invaded Poland, was arguably the most popular German leader that there had ever been in history. Let me give you just a quick crash course on my take on Germany and Japan. That both of these were examples of what happens when a government falls under a cult leader. When a cult leader comes forward, and I'm literally talking cult, C-U-L-T, a cult leader. When a cult leader comes forward and says basically that he is the Messiah. I mean, there were Germans who believed that Hitler was the reincarnation of Jesus. There were Japanese who so completely believed that the emperor was the multi-generational child of the creator of the universe, the sun god, that they were willing to crash their planes into the decks of American ships and die in a blaze of glory on behalf, because they would immediately go to heaven and be with the emperor's ancestors. These were cults. And when these cults took over these countries went insane. And when the countries were defeated at war, there was a moment where and I say this about Germany in particular because I actually knew a few people, and one of them may still be alive. I'm going to find out later this week. I'm going to Germany, but several others have died since I first met them in the 1970s. But I've known a number of people who were members of Hitler's military or who were, quote, good Germans during that era. And after they were defeated in the war, it was like it's like deprogramming. It was like suddenly they look at what happened in the concentration camps and what went on, and they say, "How could we have done that?" It's like waking up from a bad dream. And that's when a cult takes over a government, the government goes down. But a few guys with guns are not going to stop that because the vast majority of the Japanese people were behind Tojo, and the vast majority of the German people were behind Hitler.
A couple of guys with guns may not be able to stop that. That's probably true, but I'm still not willing to hand over my guns to the government. I'm still not willing to say that
I'm not suggesting you should. What I'm saying is two things. What I'm saying is number one, that the reason why we started registering, insuring, and requiring proof of operator proficiency for cars in the 1920s was because they were starting to kill people. We realized they went fast enough, and there were so many of them out there that people were dying. We had to come up with basically rules for the road. And we should be doing the same thing with guns, number one. And that's got nothing to do with taking guns away from people. That has to do with individual personal responsibility, the first conservative standard.
But my gun was registered when I purchased it. When I bought my handgun at a gun store here in Georgia, it was registered in my name.
Good on you.
Well, but what is that going to do? Is that going to prevent me from committing a crime with it, or if somebody steals it from me, is it going to prevent them from committing a crime?
I think if you have, if you had a liability insurance policy for you and that gun, and somebody steals that gun from you and uses it in a crime, or you give that gun to somebody and they use it in a crime, then at least that crime victim is going to have some compensation. If those 20 kids who were killed in Newtown had been killed by a drunk driver, Geico would be given $1 million to each one of the families. They would at least have money to pay for funerals. Instead, because they were killed with a gun, they're getting nothing. Squat. Bupkis.
Well, where should we stop, though, Tom? If we're going to make people have insurance policies on their guns, then why not on their kitchen knives, their baseball bats, and their golf clubs, too? Those can be used to kill people as well. I mean, if that guy had gone into the theater with a baseball bat and clunked 7 people in the head and they died from massive cerebral hemorrhage, is Louisville Slugger gonna pay out any compensation to those victims? Or why are we going to stop with guns? Why don't we insure everything then?
Louisville Sluggers are not manufactured for the purpose of killing people.
And guns are not manufactured for the purpose of murdering people either.
They are manufactured for the purpose of killing people.
They are, and you know something. Sometimes it's legal to kill people.
I know.
Okay.
I'm not saying. I am not calling for a. Get this really clear, David. I am not calling for a ban on guns. I'm calling for the Barry Goldwater conservative principles of personal responsibility. You want to own a weapon? Be responsible for it.
I am responsible for it.
I believe you are.
I'm responsible with it. But again, this talking about universal background checks and licensing and registration, that's not going to make any difference whatsoever.
It has made a huge difference in the countries that have done it. In virtually all the countries of Europe and in Canada, you have to register your gun. In many of those countries, you have to insure your gun, and in many of the countries, mostly the Scandinavian countries, Germany, you have to have a license demonstrating you know how to use your gun. You do those things, you can have guns. And a lot of people have them. In Canada, they got more guns per capita than we do here.
Well,
but they don't have the gun violence problem that we have.
No, we have because it's a cultural problem in this country, Tom. It's not the guns.
It is free and easy availability of guns. It absolutely is.
In Switzerland, everybody has a gun.
No, that's not. Increasingly, that's not true. But your point, I think, is well taken. There are probably more guns per capita, or an equivalent number, similar number of guns per capita in Switzerland than there are here, and people have access to them. But people have access to them in ways that are responsible. Those guns typically are kept in local militia, in local armories, by the way.
If you look at places like Chicago, New York, Baltimore, Maryland, these are some cities that have some very strict gun laws. But yet over the border in the state of Delaware, they don't have strict gun laws. They do not have strict gun laws. They do not require people to insure their weapons. They do not require people to register their weapons. They do not require people to demonstrate proficiency to use their weapons. And you cannot have any state or city have those things if the ones around them don't. Then it becomes a joke. But the larger point, David, is: do you really think? I mean, you're a member of the militia, of the military. And do you really think that you are going to use a weapon someday to stop your government from being tyrannical? I don't know that I'll stop use my.
How does that work?
Hold on a second now. When I become a citizen at the age of 62, when I retire, that's maybe my mindset will change. But it's not using a weapon to stop the government from becoming tyrannical or stop it if it does. I have a right to defend myself. When the government can suspend habeas corpus and basically put you in jail without any trial, any hearing, any legal proceedings whatsoever, then what rights do you really have?
So let's change those laws. Do you really think that you're going to be able to shoot it out?
I would rather go down with my barrel smoking.
Okay.
And to walk like
you and Charlton Heston. Okay, I got it. David, thank you very much. I'd rather sue the bastards in court and win. We'll be back.